Music Production.
What is poppin', my friends? So we're gonna go over Bitcoin real quick. And I was thinking about this a lot today because I think the markets are so interesting right now, right? We just pretty much, like, I think back to 2020 and the opportunity that was there. Like, I remember writing a little like blog post on LinkedIn about how, and I remember talking to people I used to work with at old jobs about how, like, 2020 was going to be one of the greatest opportunities that, like, people, not only people my age but people in general, would have to invest, right? So that happened. Crazy 2 years goes down, right? Changed my life. Feels great. But now there's like very bearish sentiment in the air, right? Pretty much broke all bullish patterns. Nothing looks bullish. There's pretty much recession news in the play. Croatia, Russia, right? Housing market in both US and Canada, especially Canada, like, just absolutely shot to shit. Like, it's just, the housing market is insane. Like, I hate to be pessimistic, but I feel like it's gonna probably crash or correct sharply. And what else is there, man? Like, market crash news. There's just like, there's nothing financial crisis news. Like, nothing is bullish right now. The market sentiment is crazy. Oil is way overpriced. Like, it's just mangled, like, what's going on in the world right now. Like, things are going to get tough in the next few months if there's not any sort of monetary easing of some sort. And I don't think there will be, because the amount of money we printed in 2020 and 2021 is crazy. And there's no way they could just continue to do that unless their plan is to basically shoot the dollar in the foot, shoot the US dollar and the Canadian dollar in the foot, right? If that's their plan, then this chart is the most important thing we should be paying attention to. Bitcoin, for sure. Even if it's not, I think that with all this potential of a recession and in the next few years financial crises happening in coming years too, like, it's, things repeat themselves. Financial crises have happened before. I think back to 2008 and I think, wow, like, if this happens again, this is the answer: Bitcoin. So I kind of want to break down just like this chart, right? Like, we have major support on 30k, 28 to 30k. We've been a huge wick on that weekly time frame, and it looks like we want to hold this zone for now. But if we don't, where I'm looking is previous all-time highs, which is around, we'll say 16 to 20k, right? Just that range, the 0.786 of that Fibonacci retracement from the March 20 bottom to the very top wick we got back in January 2021, or sorry, November 2021, my apologies. So that's the Fibonacci retracement. They both point to this level here, right? Previous all-time highs and the 0.786. Say we come back to that area, right? And say the rest of this year is a bear market in, like, the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, growth stocks, like all that shit. Bitcoin will eventually be the answer, and it's kind of making me more bullish on, like, the overall reason behind Bitcoin, because technically Bitcoin is the answer to inflation, the answer to a recession, the answer to all this stuff, because it's anti-inflationary. Like, if you look at housing prices in Bitcoin, the prices have actually gone down because of how significant and exponential the prices have increased in Bitcoin. So it's interesting, like, we're seeing this happen and it's all in front of our eyes and it's still very new, right? And then again, we could pull up many other things. I'll try to pull this up real quick, but essentially, if you look at the potential for growth when we look at Bitcoin, like, it's insane. Like, I've pulled up this chart before, but from what I like to think of is, like, if this is really what's at play, we really might be having a significant meltdown in our financial systems. The answer is Bitcoin. And if this is going to be the asset that pretty much saves that, or potentially is the answer to solve, like, a lot of these problems, then this chart is mad important. Like, we're here in 2022. In the next 10 years, when Bitcoin price absolutely rips, if it does, we're gonna be absolutely dreading if we didn't buy it, right? I was reading this random or listening to a random Joe Rogan podcast or a clip or something, and they were talking about how, like, what if Bitcoin is the only asset that's worth anything, like the only money that's actually worth something, and the dollar falls and like real money is worthless. Then like there's gonna be people who own no Bitcoin, and it's gonna be like weird. The world's gonna be weird. It's gonna be even more high class, low class than it already is. It's gonna be classism is gonna reach a whole new height. So I'm kind of just what I'm trying to get at is, if you watched my previous video, I think that from now on, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and owning Bitcoin is probably the answer to for the average person. Like, the average person doesn't really invest. The average person, if they do invest, the average investor will dollar cost average into the NASDAQ or the S&P. But like, what happens if all that shit just, like, what happens, right? 10, 20 years from now. Like, it's hard to look out that far, but I think that this is probably the best hedge. Like, it's such a good hedge in my opinion, but like, my opinion really doesn't mean much. So that's kind of like the thoughts on Bitcoin today. It's a little different. I'm not like screaming I'm mad bullish, the chart's amazing, but I think the opportunity still is in a class of its own. Like, it's interesting to see. So that's the breakdown for today. Peace.